So a couple of years ago, I launched a TV channel in Korea, in Asia, and I learned that people in Asia like to kick off presentations with an apology. And then I learned over here that people over here like to kick off presentations with a joke. So I tried to find something, and I failed badly. I found a reason for that. I'm German. So we're just efficient and don't have humor, which means that I just go straight to the first slide. And essentially what I'd like to talk to you about is how can we get users from being just users to paying customers to subscribers. Cosmin Ene, I'm the founder and CEO of LaterPay, a technology company based in Munich, Zurich, and in New York. And I try to make this as little boring as I can. I mean, the topic itself is super, super interesting, and we've been fortunate to try out a couple of things. So I'm going to share with you a couple of insights today, and I'd like to start with framing the problem and tell you what I think is broken on the internet, and then tell you what we think works. Looking at advertising, the chances that you climb up the Mount Everest and reach the top are 280 times higher than the chance that you click on a banner. And that also applies to video. Like, we're all trained, like little monkeys, to just wait for this little skip ad button to come and just press that immediately. So that's what we are trained to do. Now, when you look at some other engagement-based models like publishing, these guys have a real problem. Problem is that most users, and let me walk you quickly through this. Here you see unique visitors on our website, and here you see how many articles they consume per month. And then you see that only 1 to 3% of the users ever hit the paywall. That's their total addressable universe. That's it. They don't see 97 to 99% of their users. Most of their users just want to date them occasionally, and no one wants to marry the publisher. So if you put a subscription in front of these people, it's a little bit like trying to get someone to marry you after a first date. It's not going to happen. Now, why is this way? I believe there's a misperception of how users think about paid stuff and the paradigm shift that we are still working on. Let me quickly walk you through this too. The misperception happens if you don't give people what they want and how they want it, they are going to walk away. And if you ask, how big of a misperception is this? Well, it is just as big as the misperception that launched the smartphone revolution in 2008, when everyone thought that what the industry wanted are longer battery times and keyboards. And I'm sorry that John is not here. And what people really wanted was the iPhone. Right? So when you look at what happens today, the industry thinks that you want either ad-supported content or subscriptions, and they are missing out on a huge middle piece there. So this is what happens when you fall for the misperception. And talking about the paradigm shift, I still believe that we are in the middle of a transition from the old world to the internet world, where many people still didn't embrace fully this paradigm shift. And the paradigm shift is the one from push to pull. The internet is based on the principle of digital show and tell. And we see that every day. People click on their mobile phones and on the screens, if they have a Surface or otherwise with a mouse, and they show us exactly what they want and how they want it and when they want it. It is a digital show and tell. This also goes back to very human behavior. Like, I'm a father of 2 kids, and we just came back from holidays. And when I watch how my kids order ice cream, it's always the same. I want ice cream. And they point at something very specific. They show you which flavor they want. And if they want chocolate and you give them strawberries, you're going to experience a whole set of negative human emotions right then and there. So you better give them what they want. Now, when you look at the old world before the internet, that wasn't possible for a while. So we lived in a push world. Someone compiled that information, that content for us, printed it, a paperboy delivered it, that was it. But now with the internet, we are back to the show and tell, and people show us all the time what they want and how they want it. And this leads to a problem. Essentially, the registration and payment kills most of the transactions. And we see that all over the time. Simply put, users are not prepared to invest time for content where they are not convinced that this is what they are going to, what they are going to get is what they really expect. So think about the transactions in the future where you have virtual reality, you have augmented reality, you have new touch points of the internet. Transactions on the internet are going to turn from being inconvenient to being impossible. So we thought, let's think differently about this. And thank you for the introduction. It is indeed the sushi example opened my eyes for this topic. And we thought, what if we went back to one of the oldest values of humanity, which is trust? What if we were to place our bets on a very user-friendly method, something that reduces friction and something that people really know from real life? So if you go to a bar or restaurant, you open up a tab, you have a drink or two, you get hungry, so you get some food, everything gets put on your running tab, and then you tally up all your consumption during the evening, you have an espresso at the end, then you pay up, and then you go home. Hopefully you walk home. And this is exactly what we thought, and this is exactly what we put at the center of our thinking. So we thought about creating the internet's running tab and allowing people to consume content as they want, across properties, across devices, across websites. So essentially, you can go to the Wall Street Journal and buy an article, or Financial Times. You can buy some in-game items. You can go to Nat Geo and buy a 1-month subscription to their content because you're traveling to Italy and you just want to have their travel content. And you contribute to, let's say, to a streamer on Mixer. You contribute to someone on YouTube who you like with $1 or $2. You just put that all on your running tab, and you just tally up your consumption, and you register and pay only when you hit $5 in value. So what we created is essentially a user-centric method that reduces friction and allows people to buy content in a super simple way, super quickly and super fast. Essentially, we do not interrupt the user experience until the value has been established, which is pretty much a contradictory way of dealing with content when you look at traditional companies and how they sell their content. And just a little disclaimer, I'm pulling you now into the LaterPay world, but that's the only way how I can explain what we have done and the results that we've achieved with that. So this is I'm not trying to sell you on LaterPay. I'm just trying to open up your mind for this kind of user-centric models. So we started with this running tab, and then we said, why don't we make it even easier for people to contribute, to donate? That goes straight to the heart. And people want to do good, but they have only a couple of seconds to do good. People have an attention span of, well, humans at least, of 7 seconds. That's exactly the same as of a goldfish. So humans, goldfish, 7 seconds. If you want to do something good, and I put a registration in front of you, and a payment process in front of you, you're not going to do something good. Allowing people to do something good within seconds also increases the probability they're going to pay later, but I'm going to get to that in a minute. So, donations and contributions, a la carte content, time passes. For a while I had the phone number. We live in Germany and Switzerland, so in Europe you have to give people a phone number on your website. And I had that phone number redirected to my phone. So for a while I got every customer's call on my phone. And then I saw a pattern. People essentially asked for time passes. They called me and said, I got this is cool, but can I pay you a little bit more and I don't have to see you again for a while? So sure, let's build time passes. A time pass is a flat rate with an end date. So a day, a week, a month, a year, access to content and services, and that's it. It does not renew automatically. And then we build subscriptions. And all of a sudden, we realized that what we've built here is our own little conversion funnel. Because we saw that it is incredibly interesting to pick up people in a low friction zone and lead them with increasing friction for the process and for the payments and for the content that gets sold to subscription. The goal is always to get more subscribers, but we realize that if you just put a subscription in front of them, you're going to lose most of them. While if you make it easy for them to start consuming the content, what happens is that they establish value with every click. Every little click that they do on that button, they agree not only to pay later, but they understand the value of the content. And when you get them to the point of registration and payment, you're going to see a big surprise. Think for yourself about a number that you think would be a good conversion rate for people that you've never seen before, that you have no idea who they are, you have no email addresses, you have absolutely no data from them, you just have their consent. And what I mean by consent is, when I speak about trust, it is managed trust. It's not esoteric, it's more the managed trust kind of thing. So it's trust empowered by or powered by technology and enforced by technology. So think about a number that would be a good number for you to reach in terms of conversion. And I hope that your number is way lower than this number, because 85% of all users who ever promise to register and pay, register and pay. And that really blew us away. I mean, I was happy that I wasn't entirely wrong, because that was my entire assumption, but I couldn't prove it. I needed a ton of data to do that. So this is the number across the last 7 million transactions. 85% of the people register and pay. And what we realized is that if you give people the choice, and this is choice, they are going to go for whatever they want, however they want it, and whenever they want it. That is so empowering that people are willing to spend money on content. That, of course, presumes that the content that you're selling is good, or services. Now, why $5? Why did we set the threshold where you have to register and pay at 5? Because it's less than 10. And we found out that if you have a 2-digit number, people are more inclined to think about, how do I circumvent the system? What do I do there? How do I do this? And just to share one of the good and bad experiences, someone put a video on YouTube on how to circumvent LaterPay. And then I got a call from the lawyer, and then he said, do you want to do something about this? Because it just takes a letter and it's gone. And I said, how long is the video? He said, 12 minutes. Be my guest. Share the shit out of it. Because if someone spends 12 minutes of their lives trying to understand how to circumvent the system, they are much more closer to LaterPay than I would ever get them. So, fine. Keep it on there. So it's still there. You need time to establish value. Establishing value is also what drives conversion. And it makes transactions more economical. And this is something that I think so many people, so many companies focus only on this area, trying to make money off subscriptions, which is great. But if you think about how you could enlarge that funnel and build a way for people to gently onboard into paying customers, into subscribers, you reach so much more. And what's essential here is that this is about gentle onboarding. It's about a thoughtful process of getting users to become, I wouldn't call them fans, but in a lack of a better word, in going with you, in establishing value, and then turning into believers, and then essentially they pay. That's the market potential, and that's totally unexploited right now. There's almost no one experimenting around in this space because everyone wants safety. Give me your data, give me your money, and then I give you freebies and great access to content. But this is not how people think. Here are a couple of results that we generated with larger and smaller content providers. They used a combination of single articles, selling individual articles, and time passes only. No subscriptions, only those two models. They've sold 5 million articles, and they only published 2 articles per day. So 2 articles per day, that's 1.5% of their total inventory per day. And they sold 5 million articles, 86% conversion rate, and we got 8 complaints from people. I almost know them by name. Because they essentially say, well, why do I have to see advertising? I now paid for the content, and then you start a thread with them, and then here's another one, and this is an interesting one. This is one of the crudest implementations that I've ever seen. And I decided to just put the German copy-paste picture in here, of the dialogue in here. When I saw this, I almost dropped dead. I was like, what are you guys doing there? Selling an article, selling a 6-month pass, a 2-week pass, a yearly subscription, a quarterly subscription. This is going to kill us. And what happened is people don't care about that. They don't think like us. They had choice. And what happened is that 30%, more than 30% of the revenues for this customer are generated by single purchases, by people who say, I want to buy this article, and then something happens between article 5 and 7. A bunch of people then go over to this model and became subscribers. We need more data on that, and this is, early, and this is 1 year of experiment with this potential customer, or with this customer. But what we see is that once people get convinced by the content or the quality of the content or what you're selling them, and the way how you're selling that to them, that's when they say, great, where do I save money? Oh, here, subscriptions. I'll buy the subscription because that's a more economical model for me. It is about choice. I, as a user, am happy, and the content provider is happy. Now, these guys, we didn't know about it. They called us and said, did you LaterPay, did you look at the numbers? We said, yeah, we did. Small publisher, again. I said, well, but you don't know that we made 300%, we had a 300% increase in revenues since we started using you guys. Mind-blowing. Only by giving people choice. Here we ran a little experiment with games. We translated the text. This is just it's a German board game called Carcassonne. We try to convert users at the end of the free game by simply saying, hey, you've finished this game now. You have a couple of options. You can go to the store and buy the full version, or you just buy bonus rounds. 51% bought 5 or 10 bonus rounds and paid later and continue to pay later. So now imagine this at the heart of something like Xbox. Imagine a tip jar. So you could tip your favorite streamer $1 if they do something incredibly cool, and you pay later. And you try that out a couple of times, and you see how empowering this is. The people that are getting paid there will react to that because they understand your appreciation there. They may even change their style, maybe not. But all of a sudden, they get feedback from you. They get paid feedback from you. Think about chats in the same environment there with Mixer. You can also chat with other people watching the same stream. So imagine paying for having your own little note that you drop in the chat on top of the screen. Make my message stick. 30 seconds, 30 cents. So for 30 seconds, my message is going to stick on that screen while everyone else's is just going to rush out of the window. Tiny little things that drive engagement with users, but really make a difference in the end. It's psychologically empowering, and it's also emotionally empowering. Another emotion, charity. Deb, this woman, found us over the internet, and then she decided to design her own button. We didn't really mean it this way, but essentially she said, let me feed a puppy today for $2 and donate now and pay later. And she put exactly this button on her gray-looking page. It wasn't really easy to see, but she now gets 5 times more engagement from her users. She sees that 5 times more people donate than sign up for her free newsletter. So I thought a lot about a success formula, something that I would like to give to you, however crazy you think we are, but I think there are certain underlyings here that will also apply to your work, to your products. And for me, this always starts with some kind of a formula that I can go back to and experiment with. So this formula for our models in this case, and I'm not saying that this is the right way, I'm just saying that this is one way that we found to work for us, is a combination of trust and choice. We talked about trust, and we touched briefly on choice, and I just want to make sure that choice sticks with you and stays with you. So I'd like to share a little story with you. As a father, one of the most challenging things that I encountered is to feed the kids. to make them eat at a decent time, decent stuff. And I read books, 1.5, didn't work out. I tried to find something on the internet, didn't work out for me. And I thought about it, and one morning I tried something entirely different. I entered the room and I said, what would you like to eat now? Strawberries or banana? And they looked at me and they were like tiny. And they pointed at what they wanted to have. I said, great, success. Next time I tried it again. So what do you like to eat now? This or that? We're showing to them the baby food. And I did that a couple of times and I didn't get dejected from that day on. Because what I always did is I always gave them a choice. And then I thought about it. And then it became very clear to me that by giving people a choice, you empower them. You put them in control, and it doesn't matter how old they are. I don't know if they chose what they liked more or the lesser evil, but at least they didn't make the show that they usually do when I try to feed them before. Now, let me tell you one thing about choice, which I think is very, very important. Choice has to be specific. I told them, what would you like to eat now? This or that? I didn't tell them to do whatever they want. Think of choice as a democratic dictatorship. You can do whatever you like within a certain frame that I'm setting. And by doing that, you change everything. And if you combine that with trust, you have trust-based models, in that case, pay later models, with pay now models. I don't care how you consume. As long as you become my customer, you stay with me, I get you engaged, and you buy my products, I don't care how you consume them. I don't care how you pay for them. I just want to keep you close to me. I'm sure that some of you may have thought about vouchers. And my opinion on vouchers, after running a couple of tests, and that may be a little bit meta, but that's my view. The value of a voucher depreciates over time and it becomes zero. At the end of the voucher, you have lost a customer. You didn't win a customer. If you start engaging with trust-based models, you establish value with every click. And that means that you lead the user gently to become a customer and to become a subscriber. And by doing that, that's when you drive conversion. So as a final word, I'm convinced, and this is why I'm working also on this, that the future of the internet is going to be much more user-centric than it is today. Because people don't think in companies. They think across all properties. They listen to music, they watch movies, they buy content in various forms on the internet, and they want this to be a very, very simple way and very simple method. And combining pay now models with pay later models is an incredibly powerful tool. So this is a huge opportunity, especially when you put this at the center of a huge network where you start seeing a big scale and almost all your products in the size where something like this really, really matters. So all these experiments that we have done would have a huge impact on some of your products. If you think at how our world looks like today, these big companies all solved one basic need in a very, very simple way and scaled it massively. And we think that this kind of user-centric models could be LaterPay, could be something related to LaterPay, could be something else, have an incredibly big potential that's entirely unexploited right now. So the 3 things that we've learned, if you want money from users, save them time. They're more protective of their time than of their money. Think about the 7 seconds. Goldfish, people, attention span, doing good. It has to be fast and easy. We use micropayments to spearhead the conversion, and micropayments are not a business model. They're just a tool. They just bring us from one step to the next one, and that's exactly what you should do and not more. And the third one is selling products, selling features, selling software to people and asking for money, even selling services and asking for money. It's a much, much better way, much more straightforward. So what I was trying to give you today is a framework for giving trust and choice to users. We found out is that this is incredibly empowering, and users surprise you when you treat them just the way how you would like to be treated. So Thank you very much for your attention. I'll be around today and tomorrow, so if you'd like, grab me. I'm all yours, and thank you very much again for the opportunity to speak to you.